I would like to call to order the June 19th, 2023 Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners regular meeting. Welcome, everyone. If you would, please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, for our invocation tonight, if you would please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, first up is the approval or correction of the minutes, and all of you have a copy of those before you. Do I hear any corrections?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next up is the approval of the agenda, and you all have a copy of that before you as well. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda, including the changes on page 32?
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as written with the addition of Central Cabarrus Tennis Court lighting placed as new business, and if possible, before the budget.
Okay, if we do that, would that be 2.5, F 2.5? That would put you
Correct.
right before the adoption of the budget.
Yes, sir.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. We move now to recognitions and presentations, and we are happy to have Ian Sweeney with us tonight from Active Living and Parks to declare July Park and Recreation Month. Welcome.
Good evening, Commissioners. Since 1985, people in the U.S. have celebrated Park and Recreation Month in July to promote strengthening communities through parks and recreation and to recognize full, part-time, seasonal workers and volunteers that maintain our parks. This year's theme, Where Community Grows, celebrates the vital role park and recreation professionals play in bringing people together, helping grow our communities. And I'm here before you this evening to read the Park and Recreation Month proclamation on behalf of the Active Living and Parks Department. Whereas parks and recreation and active living centers are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including Cabarrus. And whereas parks and recreation and active living centers promotes health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks and active living centers. And whereas parks and recreation and active living centers promotes time spent in nature, which positively impacts mental health by increasing cognitive performance and well-being and alleviating illnesses such as depression, attention deficit disorders, and Alzheimer's. And whereas parks and recreation and active living centers encourages physical activities by providing space for popular sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. And whereas parks and recreation and active living centers, programming and education activities such as out-of-school time programming, youth sports, senior games, and environmental education are critical to childhood development. And whereas parks and recreation and active living centers increases a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas parks and recreation and active living centers are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. And whereas parks and recreation and active living centers are essential and adaptable infrastructure that makes our communities resilient in the face of natural disasters and climate change. And whereas our parks and recreation and active living centers areas ensures the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for our children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month. And whereas Cabarrus County recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation and active living centers resources. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Cabarrus Board of County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim that July is recognized as Park and Recreation Month in Cabarrus County, adopted this 19th day of June, 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Commissioners, you've heard the proclamation. Do I hear a motion that we adopt it as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. And we are now happy to have Kelly Sifford to talk about Cabarrus Soil and Water Conservation Contest winners.
Thank you. The Cabarrus Soil and Water Conservation District had a stellar year this year for its conservation contest and school education programs. Tammy Rimsberg, our educator, had almost 8,500 contacts for our school natural resource conservation classes and teacher professional development this past year. For the 2022 and 2023 school year, we had over 2,800 students participate in our conservation contest and Envirothon competition. This year's theme was Water, the Cycle of Life, and the students learned about the importance of water in Cabarrus County as well as around the world. Students participated in the bookmark, poster, essay, and computer slideshow and public speaking contest. This year, the contest was expanded to include all high school grades. We had a participation from Cabarrus County Schools and Kannapolis City Schools this year. 9 of our winners won in the area competition among the 11 other counties. 5 of our winners went on to compete at the state level, so we were very proud of them. Also, a total of 14 teams participated in the Envirothon area competition from 5 county schools. Cabarrus County was a close second in the number of teams that we had in the competition this year. Our contest winners and Envirothon teams deserve praise for their hard work. The Soil and Water District staff and supervisors would like to thank you, the commissioners, for continuing to support this very important piece of our county's education system. So we would like the students that are here tonight to come up and tell you their name, the contest that they won, and maybe something they learned or enjoyed about that competition, and then go up to meet the commissioners. Do we have pens today? And then you can return to your seat. So if you all will come up. Speak into that. Tell them your name.
Aria,
And what contest did you win?
the bookmark.
Awesome. Good job. You want to come over here and see Lauren, and she'll give you a pen? Here's Lauren.
Hi, I'm Macy Pope, and I won the county and regional competitions for the 7th grade soil and water speech. I also went on to state and got 3rd place. So, I really enjoyed writing the speech, and I feel like I put all my passion for this topic into it. And I feel like this gives us kids a chance to tell people, hey, like, we know about water and how it should be represented. So I really had a good time.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Manasvi Viramalu, and I did the water and soil public speaking contest. I really enjoyed writing the essay and learning about it, because before I didn't know that water and soil is going to get destroyed, because I always thought that it's going to go on forever and ever.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jesselyn Carter, and I won first place for 6th grade public speaking in the county, and then I went on to win second place for Area 8 6th grade public speaking. What I enjoyed about competing was making the speech from scratch and then being able to take feedback that could help me in the future for any projects I have.
Great, thank you.
Hi, and my name is Ashley Charaliaga, and I won first place in the soil and water poster. And what I enjoy about the poster was that I like to draw, and a lot of it this time I drew about what I've learned about the water and soil. And what I've learned was there was 71% of water and 29% of land. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If we can have a round of applause for our students. I think you all saw why we had such good scores this year, because we had great speakers. So, thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. Next, we have from Human Resources, recognition of Teresa Hilly on her retirement from Cabarrus County Department of Human Services. We're glad to have Anthony Hodges to talk to us about that.
We'll wait to have Teresa come up with us. Oh, you're fine. No, you're fine. I'm not rushing you along. Thank you, Commissioners, for allowing us to come and recognize Teresa tonight. This is a bittersweet day for us at DHS. We're happy for Teresa, but sad to see her go. She has a wealth of knowledge and experience, and so I'm going to go through a few little highlights. I would be here all night if I told you all the highlights of her career, but we'll go through a few things here. Teresa started with us on September 21st of 2001. Started out as doing APS, Adult Protective Services, guardianship, and as she told me, pretty much a little bit of everything. Since that time, she's right now she does guardianship and does APS on call, and for a number of years she was our only guardianship social worker, handling almost all of our guardianship cases. And so, just some highlights. You know, she's always volunteered for anything that we do. We've closed, unfortunately, a couple of assisted living facilities over the years, and she's been there to help find placement for those individuals, drive them to where they need to go, helping all of that. On a more serious note, she was at a home visit, a client collapsed. She called 911, performed CPR till EMS arrived. All those kind of things. She said it's one of the things I was talking about. She goes, anytime one of her clients has to go to the hospital, ER, she finds out they're there by themselves. She'll go sit with them no matter when or what time of day, holidays, whatever. And the example I was going to use was a couple weeks ago she did it, until I found out just before I came here that she did it yesterday. She did it last night. So she was at the ER last night with one of her clients. Also, like I said, she's really involved with her clients, making sure that she knows their likes, dislikes, anything from what snacks they like, what kind of gifts they like for Christmas, tries to make them feel special. And she does, again, a few months ago, she was on vacation, and I found out she'd called in to be a part of a Teams meeting. Well, she was in Hawaii. The meeting here was at noon, so she got up at 5 a.m. to be on a meeting about one of her clients to make sure she had the input there. Sends birthday cards to all of her clients, and just on and on, the things she does. Again, and her knowledge of resources and what she does, it'll be very extremely difficult. We won't be able to replace it. So we're just going to miss that. And she's also active in the community too, and with her family. And I forgot to mention, let me go back. She's joined here today by one of her sons, her daughter, two of her grandchildren, her mother, her brother, and her sister-in-law are all here today to celebrate with her. And she's active in the community. Right now she's president of the Logan Optimist Club, member and youth leader of Grace Lutheran Church. She's a member of Zeta Phi Beta sorority and a member of the NAACP. And I'm going to close on this, and this includes us too. This is a quote. We asked her daughter for some information, and this is a quote from her daughter. She always puts others' needs before her own, especially family and friends. She is dedicated, hardworking, and her compassion to help others is a quality that she holds near and dear to her heart. And so we'd just like to recognize Teresa.
Thank you.
have thoroughly enjoyed the opportunity to work in Cabarrus County and serving the citizens of Cabarrus County. I will truly miss my coworkers and some of my clients. But I'm looking forward to the retirement. And also my sister and my great niece is here. And I do want to give kudos to my 93-year-old mother who is here, who has always been supportive and continues to support, and because she came out tonight.
Could you ask your family to stand and be recognized?
Would y'all please stand? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for your many years of service. You definitely will be missed. Yes. Do you want to do the clock, Lynn, or do you want me to do it? Yes, Lauren's got it for you down there. Yes, Commissioner Shue has got something for you.
Teresa, on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, I want to thank you for your service, and on behalf of the citizens of Cabarrus County, thank you for your service. This is a small token of our appreciation.
Thank you again, Teresa. We move now to our informal public comments. We have a number of cards that have been turned in tonight. We ask that everyone, when you come to the podium, state your name and address. You will have 3 minutes to speak. If the timer goes off while you're speaking, we ask that you complete your sentence and step away for the next speaker. And our first speaker is Ray Helms.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Ray Helms. I'm from Harrisburg. My reason for being here tonight and speaking is about ethics that the Board of Commissioners are to follow. And after witnessing a lot of things that's been actually revealed here in the chambers, where ethic violations were just clear and blatant. According to the Code of Ethics, it says that if the majority of the board has reason to believe that one of its members has violated provisions of the Code of Ethics, it shall open an investigation into the matter to determine probable cause that exists to initiate censure against the member, and if there's criminal behavior, that it would be turned over to the local district attorney. I've witnessed for quite some time 2 commissioners badgering you 3 and making false accusations, false claims, all these things, just numerous things time and time again. So tonight, I'm publicly calling for the resignation of Commissioner Meesemer and Commissioner Strain and their behavior for it. I don't think this county deserves people serving on the Board of Commissioners with that kind of behavior. Now, it started before the election and it's continued after. Evidence has been shown. Commissioner Workman has been criticized for numerous times, and it's all because of 2 commissioners that are trying to get the power positions on the board. And I think that's just appalling, and it needs to stop. It needs to stop now. Nobody wants to hold them accountable, but I'm going to do that. I'm going to pursue it, and I'm starting with you, that you open up that investigation as you should. I think the residents of this county deserves that kind of justice, and we don't need people fulfilling the role and office to govern this county with that kind of attitude and that kind of behavior. And I'm dead serious that it's just blatant, and I can't believe that after what we've seen, it just here in the chambers and then in the newspaper, clear evidence of those things, nobody said nothing. Well, it's time, and I think that we need to bring it to an end, And if y'all don't want to do it, turn it over to the district attorney like it was done to you, which you didn't deserve for all those things. And you're right, I agree with you. Nobody should have to go through that again. And as long as these two are on the board, it's going to continue, and it needs to stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jerry Anderson.
Wow, the check valves here. I'm Jerry Anderson, Kannapolis, North Carolina. Check valves here, man. Y'all breath of fresh air to me, Barbara String and Mesmer. I don't know what this guy's talking about. Anyway, y'all know me. I brought my child up to DSS to get help. She was 25. She was a federal helpless child. Now, when I got her as a federal helpless child, they told me to always tell them that she's a federal helpless child, which I did. And they screened her wrong. And now come to find out they screened her wrong because they didn't even know what a federal helpless child was. And that's poor training. And so you know what? They treated her like Mike Downs said in his little letter to me, a competent adult. And, oh yeah, what you was referring to, she attained that at the age of 18. No, she didn't. You never read it because she never got the copy. She got it before she was 18. She got it at 14. She was always a helpless child. She never became an adult. And y'all run her. Everything I went up there and reported on my daughter trying to get help, y'all used it against her and took her child from her. All these medical places I went gave opinions and diagnoses where the federal government determined she was a helpless federal child, and you made her competent. And no wonder Jay White sat up here and put her through trial 3 times without a lawyer, and I wondered about his ethics, this man's talking about, and why you didn't do nothing back Mike Downs, take him off. But I see you said he was competent. How long have you known this has gone on wrongly? How long have you known y'all took my child wrongly and just sat there and watched me come up here and hurt? How long have you known my child was taken wrongly and sat up here? How long have you known she was a helpless child, never an adult? And y'all went after that child on a Saturday night and took her from me. This is my child, and that's my other child. One's dead, Mike Downs. The one you're looking at right here, your agency killed her. They neglected her, they didn't help her. She's dead. And the other one got gone from me on a Saturday night. Father's Day was yesterday. It hurt so bad. One dead and one, because I come to get help. How long you known Mike Downs, and you won't write it? How long you gonna live with that?
Okay, our next speaker is Jeter Anderson.
Jeter Anderson. I too share the pain that my father feels with his 2 children. Erica Anderson was not a competent adult. Mike Downs is really trying to cover up and hide a hate crime. I mean, to come to a black community and pick on us and pick on a black child, and because you knew she had a disability, because David Goldberg says y'all knew this from the very beginning. Y'all knew she was a helpless child from the very beginning, and y'all treated her like a competent adult. So you're trying to cover up this hate crime, and he's done a good job. This hate crime is covered up, and my dad's had a great Father's Day. And I know you don't care, man, because, well, what do you care about? Criminals don't come black in hoods and beards and hats. They sometimes clean shaven with ties and glasses, sitting right in front of you. That's where you hide stuff in plain sight. You treat this case like it's a closed case. Someone walked by my dad and said, it's a closed case. No, it's not. We talk about two individuals. One's a 25-year-old that was neglected, abused, exploited, and I'm talking about every kind of exploitation in the world happened to this girl. Naked pictures and being taken advantage of and swindled. And this county's gonna sit here. Every officer listening needs to rip their badge off. Let Mike Downs sit up here hiding a hate crime. This child should be returned. If we're screen wrong, then we're still screen wrong. My sister was purged right on. This county let her be purged. It was gruesome. Their DSS sent this mentally ill individual to court as a competent adult, made her stand her own trials. What do y'all do? Did y'all laugh at this? Is this funny? Y'all purged her. And if we're not screen right then, we're not screen right today. And therefore, you're purging my father, you're purging me. And I don't have a director of the county DSS. No one speaks to me because of this issue. I'm purged out of the system. And it's a big problem. It's a big problem. We don't even have a county manager. He's locked his doors. The open door policy, there's no open door policy for Mike Downs. What I'm saying is true. I cannot sit up here and say this and it not be true. I've been saying it for a while now. And all of Cabarrus should be concerned about their DSS. It's not run properly. It's not run correctly. It's going to happen to your people. It's going to happen to your family. And the one commissioner I asked him for help to ask the judge, would she try a federal helpless child without a lawyer? He didn't do it.
Okay, our next speaker is Josh Norris.
Good evening, Josh Norris from Shiloh Church Road. I rise today to speak to you about the goods and the bads of some of the government. As we saw today, some nice folks protesting outside using their First Amendment. Well, that's good, right? Had a bunch of young folks come in, receive some awards for their hard work, and they get to see their hard work pay off. And I think that that's very good as well. Now, the government does in fact fall short in a lot of ways. Seeing the leaders of the government at the county level bicker and complain in public, that's just not great, in my opinion, right? Not saying that I could do a better job, but I am old enough to remember when Mr. Meesemer publicly called out Mike Downs, claiming you seem to think you're the fifth, sixth commissioner instead of the county manager, things of this nature. And everybody, we all know, hear the rumors and the accusations and everything that goes on behind the scenes. But this investigation into you, Steve, and I don't know you. I think I've said hello to you once. But having these wise men come out and just open these investigations, it mirrors what's going on in Washington today, I think. If we investigate any one of us enough, we're going to find reasons to throw dirt at them. We're going to find something wrong, right? Now, if the news article is to be believed, you had the Gym Theater, the city of Kannapolis bought it for less than $500,000. That's not a lot of money, right? To some of us. And then if the Gym Theater is making close to $800,000 a year, and now the city owns it and it's going to generate that money, what's the problem, right? If that's to be believed, and if that's all there is to that story. Now, of course, if you happen to have done something wrong, I hope that you're held accountable to that. But larger, and on a more grander scale, there's a lot of folks here today struggling to pay their bills, getting evicted. But not to worry, they can go to a brand new courthouse, look at some fantastic art when they go to eviction court, right? And how much money did that art cost? And did that art even come from Cabarrus County? I mean, these are the things that I look at and I think, well, the government's just not working in a common sense way. But again, I'm not saying that I could do better or make better decisions. It just seems like it could function more fluidly. And this the investigations into everybody, it's just not a great look, I think, right? Because it's going to skyline Steve. But if you'll indulge me, just one last thing. I have not felt safe on one single elevator ever since Sherry Berry retired. I think she should come back, y'all. All right. Thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
Our next speaker is Rich Wise.
I'm Rich Wise. I'm a citizen of Cabarrus County, and I'm also a councilman in the town of Midland. Well, first, I'd like to apologize to the people of Cabarrus County and to the county commissioners. I was informed I was lying about the moving the Midland ambulance from the Midland to Mount Pleasant by the county EMS and by staff from the county. I don't make it a practice to lie. I was told by a person who was running for county commissioner and his wife, with not only myself but a few others present, this was a practice the EMS did several times. I am a trusting person, so I had no reason to believe that I was not told the truth. So this is my dilemma. Were they telling me the truth, or was it a lie? And if it was a lie, then as a county commissioner, what else is he lying about? The county EMS says the records only go back 30 days, which not only shows what happens a few years ago, which could not show what happened a few years ago when this county commissioner's wife was working for EMS. So did I lie or not? We don't have the records to prove one way or another. I do know this. EMS says it does not happen, and EMS has an average 8-minute response time, except when it comes to Midland. When Midland ambulance is responding to an outside call of Midland, and the EMS has to move an ambulance closer to Midland, and the closer is 49 and 601, in that case, Midland it would take more than 8 minutes, a good 20 minutes from that area, which could mean a matter of life or death. So again, did I lie? I don't believe I did, nor the county commissioner's wife at that time. She had nothing to gain. EMS can't say one way or another because there's no records from there, as I was told. Even though EMS says it's not true, there's no proof because no records. So lastly, again, I apologize to the people. If you think I lied, again, apologize. The county commissioners, I am sorry. But one last thing before I close out this thing is I got some reports from EMS. They go back 5 years. So I sat with my town manager, I crunched some numbers. 2018, there was 37 times that Midland ambulance was pulled to Mount Pleasant. 2019, there was 30 times. 2020, 38 times. 21, 41 times. And 22, 46 times. So who's telling the truth? I mean, was the ambulance pulled out to Mount Pleasant? Now, my feeling is if it goes to Mount Pleasant, that even makes it longer for an ambulance to get to somebody in Midland that might have a heart attack. Lynn, you have a bad heart. I have a bad heart. 20 minutes could mean matter of life and death. But again, that's what happens. We don't get the full truth. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jamin Bryant Heron.
Thank you, Peace County Commissioners, Jamin, Brian Heron, and happy Juneteenth. Generally, business meetings are closed on federal holidays, but yet here we are. And so I'm here to discuss a move that underlines the strong ties between policing, Cabarrus County government, and North Carolina elected officials. For those who may not be aware, Cabarrus County Commissioners will be moving forward with the project to construct a $35 million cop training facility. This facility will be equipped with a shooting range, space for weapons, K-9 training, stimulation training, and more. This project sounds very similar to the projects being protested, the Cop City being protested in Atlanta, Georgia. The facility will be built on the land of Stonewall Jackson's detention center that historically traumatized young boys in Cabarrus and will be near Frank List Park where our children play. Environmental impacts are not being considered, and this plan not only lacks transparency but ignores community needs. As we are asking for change in response to police violence, it is disheartening to me that Cabarrus County intends to offer more physical space and resources to CPD that will traumatize and harm our communities. Police training did not stop the murder of Brandon Combs and will not stop police brutality. We believe in investing in communities to keep us safe. True public safety in North Carolina will not be attained by increasing policing, militarization, and carceral punishment, and it will only be made worse by the construction of Cop City. In the last 2 years, post-pandemic, facing housing and education crisis, Cabarrus County has invested in a courthouse and now a new police city. One has to ask, who and what are we preparing for? Are we trying to criminalize our youth or educate our youth? When we perpetuate decades of systemic racism and violence on Black and brown communities, we perpetuate decades of systemic racism and violence on Black and brown people when we choose to invest in police over people in our communities. Millions of these dollars could go towards supporting Barber Scotia, to support students in our communities, towards education and residents all across Cabarrus County. Millions could go allocated towards mental health, housing, and education. Investing in education would decrease crime and increase productivity of our county. We ask you to say no to Cop City. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Mark Ortiz.
Mark Ortiz from Kannapolis. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. You probably know me from the last couple of meetings where we have been discussing the eviction crisis in Cabarrus County. What is the warning that's going off here? Ah, well. Do we need to do anything? Okay. Well, we've been discussing the eviction crisis and the efforts to improve emergency assistance in this county. And I would just like to summarize what we understand has been agreed since you are about to finalize the budget. First, an increase in the maximum benefit from $500 to $1,000. Do we need to evacuate?
I think that's individual cell phones going off is what we're hearing.
First, increase in maximum benefit from $500 to $1,000. Second, applications available online. You don't have to walk in and get one. Third, landlords no longer have to be registered with the county and receive direct deposit only. They can get a check. Fourth, quarterly evaluation of how the project is doing and whether it needs additional funding. Just wanted to clarify and summarize what we are looking for from you folks when you finalize the budget and in the year going forward. We will be watching. We appreciate your attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mike Hutman.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Hutman. I live on Blue Sky Drive, very close to the border of the county. And I want to start off by saying thank you. Because I have heard, I was going to come in with a different speech, but I heard earlier today that there's been some negotiation, there's been some work with the county commissioners on the budget regarding the eviction emergency funding. And I'm really glad that we're going to keep some of that funding in place and really help families out. I want to stand here and thank you. Why are we here? I mean, why is this a problem in the first place? We live in an economic system where a few people have a lot of money, and in order for them to have a lot of money, a lot of people have to have a little bit of money. And unfortunately, we have lots of businesses that want to keep making more and more money. Some of them own rental properties, so they keep charging more and more money for rent. Wages don't go up to match the rent. People fall behind on their bills. Some people can't afford to pay their rent anymore. So I'm really hoping that this funding will help keep some families in their homes and help them get back on their feet and get back into a budget that works for them. So I'm really appreciative of the work you guys are doing. With that said, and I do want to stress that this is good for the stability of our county. Do you ever hear of a billionaire that shoplifts? Not me. I've never seen one. And if you see poor people shoplifting, no, you didn't. But look, when people get poor and they get desperate, some people turn to means that aren't legal to get some money, and this will help prevent that. But I'm hoping for a longer-term solution. Emergency eviction assistance, that's going to help some families stay in their homes. That's going to be great. But longer term, the rent's going to keep going up. It's going to keep getting harder and harder for families to live here. And there's going to be more and more overturn, which is bad for the stability of our local businesses. So I'm hoping that this commission will look into any sort of rent control or some sort of price controls around the rental units, maybe tied to different income levels, so that in the future we can prevent this problem from happening and we don't have to have emergency bailouts, that we prevent the problem before it starts. So that's why I'm here today. Again, thank you for keeping this emergency funding. Thanks.
Okay, our next speaker is May, and you did not write down your last name. If you would state it when you step up to the podium, please.
Hello, Commissioners, and anyone else listening. My name is Megan Mack, and I live in Concord, North Carolina. I am also a member of Cabarrus County. In addition, I'm a doctoral student studying both community and health psychology, and a member of a local community organizing group down home. Over the last several months, we have been acting to ensure that there is funding allocated in the FY24 budget to prevent evictions and reduce homelessness in our community. It's been an interesting experience. I'm here to bring a few points to your attention. In 2022, Cabarrus County conducted a community survey asking residents what was their most important need at the county level. The handout that I provided shows you that the community response to that question was that the top-ranked service that folks needed from their government was having access to housing costing no more than 30% of their household income. This was the only service ranked as definitely needing increased emphasis in Cabarrus County. As financial experts also advise to spend no more than 30% of your budget on housing if you wish to be financially secure, this is not an unreasonable demand. Yet this coincides with the finding that 2023 was a record year for number of eviction filings in Cabarrus County. This year, Cabarrus County evicted 1.5% of its total population. This means that over 3,000 people now have an eviction filing on their record. This is also over 3,000 people that now have a significantly higher chance of homelessness within our community. And these aren't just numbers, they're not just statistics. We've been talking to people, and it's what we're hearing in the community. The point that keeps coming up again and again is the need for affordable, safe, and sustainable housing. And as we all know, that need is not being met. These distressing trends are leading to increased inequity in our systems, and it's critical that attention and resources are devoted to address the housing needs of the citizens of Cabarrus County. As we've heard, we're spending money on something that doesn't give us the outcome that any of us want. Today, what this looks like is ensuring that there are adequate emergency assistance funds available to help families facing evictions by allocating, at a minimum, $500,000 to this cause. This would only be around $300,000 more than you have promised, which I thank you for the work that each of you have done in this cause. These dollars will be funding prevention of the displacement of families, disruption of communities, and the expounded financial strain on our public systems. In the future, what this looks like is intentionally and definitely focusing on finding solutions to the problem of skyrocketing market prices for housing to ensure that Cabarrus County residents are housed in our community. Today, I ask you to evict less and to house more. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Sabrina Berry.
Good evening, County Commissioners. I am Sabrina Berry, and I won't repeat what you've already heard everyone say. I first want to say thank you and acknowledge that you guys have made efforts to improve this program by changing some of the stipulations and adding additional $85,000 to the $76,000. We do appreciate that, and we do know that it's not enough, but it is a start. As we watch this program over the next year, we are hopeful that we will get good faith that you guys would contribute more to this fund as you see the need for it. With that, I want to say thank you, and I want to piggyback on what May said. We have $35 million going into a new training facility. Is that no way possible that we can put $34.5 million into that facility and contribute another $500,000 towards the emergency assistance program? I thank you. May God bless you and heaven smile upon you.
Our next speaker is Bishop Roland Jordan.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, County Manager, members, lawyer. I greet you in Jesus' name. I would say Mr. McDowell will talk to me, praise God, so I thank God for that. But tonight I'm asking you for a proclamation for white people. Sure, you probably think you're better than us, but you're not. Jesus Christ have authority over all of us. So when you go home and look at your kids and look at your family and look at my inheritance, why not? We should be equal. That's what it's all about. That's what Dr. King died for us to be equal. So I ask you to take that into consideration. And I talked to Mr. McDowell about June 10, that y'all will vote that in. If you decide to vote tonight, be good. Show you how your hearts is. I know how some of your hearts is, because I'm a prophet of God. Praise God. I don't hate, but I dislike. Praise God. Your nursing home, you messing with my people. You forcing them to go into the nursing home, social service, if they ain't got nobody living with them at night. Sure, we're concerned about our people. I'll call them all the time at night and check on them and see if they're okay. Something you don't know, praise God. Why? My people worked hard for what they had. And y'all come and try to take away. When I say y'all, it ain't most of the black people, it's most of the white brothers, because everything we got to go through, we go to the white brothers. Simple as that. Actually, for the proclamation of Mr. Ronnie Long, 44 years he was in prison, accused of something he didn't do. You got kids in here. I can't say what it is. Praise God, I respect my kids. Praise God. Okay, the sheriff department, which I'm looking for another sheriff. Praise God, he won't talk to me. Praise God. I don't talk about behind people's back. I talk right in front of their face. I asked Mr. McDowell, we're going to have more than 2 people to visit, especially families. There was a time we go 2 or 3 people be there. The Lord said he would take a witness with you, praise God. That's keep from getting trapped up from Satan, praise God. But some things the sheriff do right and some things they don't. I had a elder lady, they took her dogs away from her. They took her to another county there because she was in the nursing home. Even though kin folks might have called. Yeah, I realized it was a health reason, but that woman raised that dog as a puppy. And you know, you got dogs, y'all love dogs. Michael Vick went to prison for dogs, praise God, which he shouldn't have went. But anyway, when people raise dogs, take that in consideration when you do things, praise God. Bible Scotia College, praise God. You can do something to help them. I see you don't want to get no money, praise God. But there's a ways of helping my people, praise God. We look for you to do it. You are our leaders, praise God. You might not be our leaders, you're just there for the vote. Show me. Action. And June 10th, got this Saturday, we're working for you to come. And I got a march coming up for Jesus Christ for my people. If I walk by myself, I'm walking. In the name of Jesus, God bless you.
Okay, that concludes all of the cards that we have for informal public comments tonight. And so we move now to our consent agenda. Our consent agenda consists of items that have been discussed at length at our work session 2 weeks ago. Tonight we have 28 different items on that list. And one of you might be able to remind me how many hours we spent talking about it at our work session, but it was quite a few. So these are all items that have been discussed publicly. And so, Commissioners, do I hear a motion at this time to approve the consent agenda as presented? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. And we move now to new business. First item is from the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, a funding appeal, and our attorney, Evan Lee, is going to talk with us about that for a moment.
Good evening, Commissioners. I am here just to kind of discuss procedurally what is before you, and then let Mr. Bego present his appeal. So you should have in the agenda packet the appeal document that was sent to the JCPC, the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. In addition, I asked Ms. Linker to include the most recent bylaws in the meeting minutes as well. Basically, what I am going to outline for you tonight is on March 1st, there was a meeting of the Council's Allocation and Funding Committee. On March 15th, the Council voted to schedule a second meeting, and then the actual recommendations were presented on April 19th at the April 19th meeting, and a funding option was decided. Mr. Bego and YLD appealed that decision pursuant to the bylaws. The way the bylaws work is an appeal of a funding decision by any organization goes first back to the JCPC, then it goes to the county manager, then it goes to you as the Board of Commissioners, and after that it can go to the Department of Public Safety's board, and that's kind of the end of the road for the administrative appeals and administrative remedy. So I just wanted to outline that for you and just point you to two portions in the bylaws. Article 8 or Article 7, Section 2 sets forth the appeal process that I just summarized. And then Article 5 creates the allocations committee. and Article 6 outlines the funding of programs. So all of that should be before you, and that is kind of the roadmap, if you will, or the framework for considering the decision tonight. Mr. Cook and I have discussed this. Again, I'm not here to give any recommendation or anything, just more outline the procedural process. Commissioner Meismer is your designee on this board, so he was present at the meeting where the funding decision was made, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you need me to.
Okay, questions for Mr. Lee? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and I think now Mr. Bago is here, if he would like to come forward.
Before I formally get started, because that was totally unexpected, I don't know why that was done, but I have a question. I'm being allowed to present before you today in an appeal fashion, but at the JCPC meeting, I was not allowed to speak during a public meeting. Is that county protocol? Is that acceptable? So that's one question I'll pose at the beginning. Because I've been a part of, or I've seen appeals before, and I've never been told that you couldn't present your appeal, even as I'm presenting it before the Board of County Commissioners today. I wasn't allowed to do that on the first level of appeals. So that's a question I would like to get answered at some point. But anyway, going forward, first of all, thank you for hearing my appeal. First of all, thank you for that. And in that, I know it takes courage to lead. I understand it requires wisdom and integrity to govern. But I also understand and believe that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. It should be expected that funding decisions by a public board appointed by the Board of County Commissioners using public tax dollars would be fair, reasonable, and rational, and must reflect the tentativeness to a deliberate and transparent process that is, here's the key, easily explainable. I am not objecting to or disputing whether the Cabarrus JCPC followed their funding procedures, which is the other appeals totally ignored what I was appealing. Rather, I'm appealing the arbitrary manner in which they went about the funding decision-making process, where they failed to use the information at their disposal to equitably scrutinize the YDI and time vocational programs according to the 4 key minimum screening standards their bylaws cite should be used when reviewing grant applicants, which resulted in an unfair and unreasonable funding differential of $44,000, more than $44,000, that cut the YDI program, our program, by nearly $30,000 and increased the other program by more than $14,000. Despite YDI being a program in good standing that surpasses contractual goals, expectations, and outcomes, and whose results clearly rival those of the time program. In other words, I'm seeking a competent and coherent explanation that reasonably and rationally justifies the JCPC's funding decision that resulted in the $44,000 funding differential between the 2 vocational programs, given the data used when the decision was rendered, in light of the key 4 areas of scrutiny the JCPC bylaws cite should be used when screening programs for funding. Minimum Area 1 was funding amount requested. Now, the Time Get Hired program requested and was awarded $59,840 to serve 20 juveniles. The YDI vocational program requested just $51,997, which was a $7,843 difference to serve the same amount of kids. Here's my question, and you see the chart there that details that information that was provided to the council. Why was there no mention or consideration given during funding deliberations to the almost $8,000 request amount differentiation between the 2 programs to serve the same number of juvenile clients with similar services? Perhaps time is more effective. Maybe that's the reason. Well, the next minimum effort area is effectiveness. Video testimonies that I'll show you at the end with the given time by juvenile participants show that we were the only program to provide the board with personal first-hand corroborative accounts of how juvenile clients were impacted by our program. We were the only one. that validated that. The Juvenile Justice Court Counsel Supervisor mentioned at least 5 times during the funding process how her court counselors consistently referred juveniles to the YDI vocational program, how juveniles and parents continually express satisfaction and support for the YDI program, and how YDI consistently communicates and interacts with her staff to provide timely updates and other requested information. Part 3, YDI's 22-23 monitoring report, which is part of your packet there. YDI's strength, the council itself said, is its ability to provide juveniles with a comprehensive introduction to vocational avenues, in addition to learning marketable skills that include safety, training, and how to confidently apply for employment. Youth learn that their future is attached to their present. An additional strength is the program's well-organized and thorough documentation. Finally, the Department of Public Safety area consultant who represents the state emailed me this: YDI's programming is highly regarded by our members, DJJ and NCDPS. So here's my question number 2. What outcomes or measures of effectiveness during the funding process made the Time Get Hired program to stand out to the JCPC to justify a $44,000 plus funding differential versus the YDI program? Minimum area 3, almost done here. Expectation. Both the YDI vocational and Time Get Hired programs have surpassed the expected number of total juvenile clients to serve during fiscal year 22-23. While Time did serve more juveniles overall in fiscal year 22-23, but YDI actually served more the actual current year by more than 6. So more questions. Question number 3, the JCPC may say Time served more overall, but where is it considered best practice to assume the quantity of clients served is necessarily equivalent to the quality of services rendered and therefore automatically qualified to receive preferential funding consideration? I went to Davidson College and Ohio State. At Ohio State, I was a number among 61,000 students. At Davidson College, I was part of a 2,500 student base, and the president of the college knew my name personally. Where do you think I got the best experience? At Davidson College. Question number 4, what is the reasoning and justification behind drastically cutting a program in good standing that serves more than contracted? Staffing. The YDI vocational program has had no staffing vacancies or shortages since becoming the JCPC service provider in Cabarrus County in fiscal year 2019-20. In contrast, at the funding presentation meeting in March, the Time organization stated it had a 90% turnover rate during the current fiscal year. 90%. According to research by Quantum Workplace, employee retention rates of 90% or higher are considered good, and the company should aim for an average employee turnover rate of 10% or less. Staff retention ensures a degree of stability and continuity in the delivery of services commonly associated with higher productivity. And low turnover helps ensure a program's policies, procedures, and most importantly, dealing with vulnerable youth, that services are implemented with the highest fidelity. So question number 5 is, why was there no consideration or discussion given to this differentiation between the two organizations' staffing statuses and how it may have impacted our respective capacities to deliver programming with fidelity and without disruption? Now, Time has since reported most of the vacancies were not in their vocational program. However, their other 2 programs that would have been impacted received no cuts and were awarded the same funding amount in fiscal year 22-23. The same thing we're asking. So in conclusion, even if a funding board may use broad discretion, as the county manager put it in his, in his appeal response, in funding consideration, its funding decisions must never appear to be arbitrary, unfair, and not easily explained when using taxpayer dollars. Neither should that board receive a pass or its decision-making, no matter how small, get a shrugged shoulder response from those authorized to provide accountability and oversight, especially when numerous unanswered questions exist. Using the key information employed by the JCPC to make funding decisions as detailed in this appeal, the YDI vocational program is a program in good standing that meets or exceeds every minimum standard cited in the JCPC bylaws by which program applicants are to be scrutinized by the board. Moreover, there is no data or information that justifies the board's decisions to cut the YDI vocational program's budget to less than half of its previous year's allocation, and for YDI be the only currently funded program subjected to such drastic cuts, especially reductions that constitute a more than $44,000 funding differential from a similar program service provider whose minimum standard outcomes are not better. Therefore, it is my humble request that the JCPC board, that you ask the JCPC board to allocate the $51,000 that we received in this current fiscal year as a starting point. And then I don't mind, then make the necessary cuts appropriately for all the currently funded programs fairly to create a new program and so forth. And so in conclusion, I would ask that the video, if I have whatever minutes left, this is how kids are impacted by YDI here in Cabarrus County at the Performance Learning Center. I think I have a few minutes left.
I'm Chelsea, I'm 16.
Can you turn?
YDI has impacted me because I've never thought about my future until this program, and I never thought about what I wanted and what I didn't want in life, and I never really thought about my career in the future, but this program has made me think about my future and makes me actually want to accomplish it.
Right. My name is Jeremiah Acevedo. I am in the 12th grade here at the POC. Something that I have benefited from over here at YDI is my confidence more. Before this program had started, it was more of I wouldn't tend to look at somebody in the eye for a period of long time. That's what Danny it was crazy. We used to do this interview thing, and it was just hard for me to look at her, you know. And it was when the YDI had started, or a couple of 2 weeks in, it was more of I kind of was able to just be more comfortable in my own skin in a way, and just when I'm talking, it's I'm more confident with what I say and how I say it, and how I perceive my words in a way. And even by the way I shake somebody's hand, it's just completely different, and my confidence is just boosted a whole bunch. So yeah.
Hi, my name is Hayden Cowan. I'm in the 11th grade, and the YDI program has greatly benefited me in my ability to be more confident in myself and my own abilities. It's taught me to equate my own self-worth with my actual abilities, and not just look at things in a practical way, but actually believe in myself. I'm going to be applying for a job I'm planning on as soon as I get home tonight, and I'm actually confident that I'll get accepted. I'll apply online and then go in person if I don't hear back in about a week. And I think a year ago I would be extremely, extremely nervous about going in person or even submitting the job application in the first place, but this program has been immensely helpful in building my confidence, and I'm confident in my ability to apply.
My name is Daly Hicks. Today's lesson taught me that it's okay to be open, and your words have an impact on other people, not just yourself. YDI as a program has helped me understand more of what I'm capable of and how I can get to where I want to be, instead of just thinking it and not fulfilling my dreams. It's been helping me get to my dreams slowly but surely, and that's what YDI means to me.
My name is Mal Sims, and I'm in the
Concord
11th
area
grade.
tornado warning.
And something
Cab
that I've
Collard, Cab
benefited
Collard.
or learned
A
from this
tornado
program
warning has been
already,
issued for the
finished,
Concord area.
is how to
Seek shelter away
really
from
dig
doors
deep
and
within
windows.
yourself, and that's where it
Move below
starts,
ground
and
if possible.
knowing that that is the core of everything. Yourself is your foundation, and that's how you're going to get to where you want to be.
Concord area tornado warning.
And I used
Cab
my
Collard,
money
Cab
that I
Collard.
got from
A tornado
last
warning
session
has been
to buy
issued
an
for the
organizer
Concord
so
area.
that my makeup,
Seek shelter
my
away
whole
from
day-
doors and windows. Move below ground if possible.
Desk would be less filled with
Concord
makeup when I
area
got home. I'd be
tornado
more likely
warning.
to do my homework
Cab
instead of
Collard,
get in
Cab
bed.
Collard.
my
A
morning
tornado
routine would
warning
be
has been issued for the
smoother.
Concord
I would be able
area.
to find the things that I need
Seek
to
shelter
use
away
on my
from
face,
doors
like
and windows.
just organization.
Move below ground if possible.
I'm Miss Danny. I'm with Communities and Schools of North Carolina. I'm the student support specialist here at PLC, and I am loving this partnership with YDI because I'm just seeing students smile and connect with one another more, stand taller, and it's just really beautiful to have a group session and then 3 days later, students in my office following up about what they've learned and what are the next steps that I need to take and what should I do education-wise and future-wise. And it's just great to see all that they're learning really saturate, and you can tell that the wheels are turning. So it's exciting.
Again, and this last remark, I'm not here to throw mud on any program, but the program in question also operated at that school. So, but we were both at that school, but we got the recommendation.
Just for the benefit of the people in the audience, our sheriff's deputies are monitoring the alarms that we're hearing going off, so if there's any area of concern, they will notify us. Commissioners, you've heard Mr. Bago's comments. Do any of you have any questions that you would like to ask of him?
I have a general question. Who is the person that can get him answers to the questions he's got? Who is that specific person?
I would think, I'll take a stab at this. Mr. Lee, Mike can help us with that as well. But the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, which Commissioner Meesmer represents our board on that. I have served on that board for the past 10 years. But that is made up, the members of the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, most of the positions are specific to certain areas, a certain number of court counselors, a certain number of a representative from the sheriff's department, from our other two municipal law enforcement agencies. Both of our school systems are represented. There are that's how the board is comprised. It's from people representing those specific areas. So, and each year, they are allocated a certain amount of money from the state of North Carolina that comes to all the juvenile crime prevention councils across the state. And it is those groups, they put out requests for proposals for various programs to benefit youth in our community. Some of those youth may be, for whatever reason, deemed to be at risk for having legal issues, or perhaps they've had some sort of an infraction. It's a pretty broad, but the programs are to benefit those kids, just like the ones we saw in the video there. And so when those requests for proposals go out, then there are a number of different organizations that send back proposals, and it is the responsibility of that group to make decisions as to which programs they want to fund and at what level. So that's a long way of answering a short question, but the folks on that Juvenile Crime Prevention Council are the ones that are knowledgeable about the requests that have been made, the proposals that have been made, and so that they would be people that could answer those questions, I would say.
Comments that I have on this is the concerns that I have is this is a JCPC responsibility. The county commission is only a pass-through of the money that we get from the state. And what you're asking us to do, sir, is bypass what the JCPC has said. And the precedence that would set us in, you know, I've been on this board since 2014, and, you know, we've never had an issue like this. So it's totally new to me, and I didn't even have the paperwork until tonight to look at this. And, you know, but, I mean, we've got men and women from all walks of life that are members of the JCPC board, and they do a fantastic job. And not that I would say that what you do in your group does a fantastic job also. Anything to help promote kids and their stability, their education, and all of that is very important to me. But for my own personal self, I don't want to see us override the budget capacities of these other entities, such as JCPC. If they didn't elect to have your company as part of this, then, I mean, I can't see us going back and saying, you know, no, you didn't do a good job. You need to give these folks some money. And so that's just where I'm at, Mr. Chairman. I don't know where everybody else is at, because we hadn't talked about it first time we seen it. Thank you.
This matter did come before the JCPC board, the appeal. We voted on the appeal in the May meeting, which you have the minutes of, which I know it's very difficult to read through all of this here, but whenever the appeal came before the JCPC board, it was voted on. And as the chairman said, this board is made up of a number of different community members. There's some judges, the district attorneys on that board, representatives from the school system, commissioner representative. But as I said, this appeal came before the JCPC board in May, and 19 members voted against the appeal and 4 abstained, just to give you a general idea, because that is all in this paperwork here. And then I believe it, after the JCPC board denied that, then it went to county manager. And then I'm assuming he denied the appeal, because then that's how it ended up with us.
Point of clarity, please. As I said in here, in both of those appeals, first of all, the first appeal, I didn't even get a chance to speak, because I could have clarified it a lot. What they did was pivot. I'm a former investigative news reporter of governments, okay? They pivoted around, did they follow the ABC 1, 2, 3 of the funding process? I wasn't disputing that. I was disputing the arbitrary decision. So what they did at the JCPC meeting was say, did we do A? Did we do B? Did we do C? That totally ignored what my appeal was about. When I came to Mr. Downs, same thing. He actually quoted the policies and procedures of the state, which wasn't even part of my funding appeal. My appeal was strictly about the arbitrary decision-making relative to what the bylaw says, the 4 main things that you consider when comparing organizations for funding. That's all that I did, aligned with that statute. So I'm not appealing the funding, whether they followed the process. It's the arbitrary decision-making that was engaged in that's inexplicable. So if someone can rationally explain why you're going to fund a higher, more expensive program that doesn't have a better track record over a program that's in good standing, it's in 4 different counties, and then I'm good. I've never got the answer to those questions, and that's probably really the spirit of why I'm here. This is the funding board of taxpayer dollars. There should be an explanation as to why they made the decisions that they did. I'm not disputing whether time is a good program, and the people at the JCPC, good people. We all make mistakes, but we need to take ownership of it and be able to explain, utilizing taxpayer dollars, why we made the decisions. If that can't be done, then changes need to be made.
Okay, I'll add a couple comments. I know that Commissioner Shee was correct that this information is coming before us pretty quickly. I'll assume responsibility for that. When this appeal came to us, I suggested that we go ahead and address it at our meeting tonight, because before we meet again, we will be in a new fiscal year. And so July 1st will begin the new year. And so as long as this appeal is out there undecided, then that holds up the funding for every other program that is funded through the JCP also. So that's why I felt like, and there's still an additional avenue of appeal beyond us. So that's why I wanted to go ahead and make sure that we addressed it, so that we could clear that up for funding for the other programs, so would not be left in jeopardy. And so I will certainly entertain any other questions from you or for you, Mr. Bago. And then when that is completed, I'll ask Mr. Lee to come back up and give us a bit of a review on what the options or what the avenues are.
Yeah, all I'm asking, don't fast track this the reason why I agreed today is Juneteenth. My family observes Juneteenth. I'm here simply because I don't want to delay or whatever. I want to expedite this as much as possible, but not at the expense of fairness. So I just want to make that sure. I could have easily said, let's go to July 10th, but I didn't do that. But I definitely, because I wanted this to be fresh. But don't fast track this because it's convenient, or it will, how can I say this politely? Just don't fast track it because of convenience. Just be just. Be just. That's all I ask you. Just be just. No vitriol against anybody, any of the programs. But if anyone with reasonable compare what I just presented today, they would see that there's questions that still persist, that questions that I've asked the county manager, I asked the JCPC board again. I still want to know whether that's feasible or not. We're at an appeal meeting, a public meeting. I can't even talk. I could have clarified a lot of stuff right then before we even got to the county manager. So I'm just saying, be just. Be just. That's all that I'm asking.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Bago? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, and Mr. Lee, if you would kind of give us a bit of a rundown of what the next steps and what our options are.
Yeah, thank you. To Commissioner Shu's point, this is not an oft appealed issue, and there's not a set of policies or procedures on the appeals outside of the bylaws or with the state as well. It's not in the nature of a quasi-judicial proceeding. It doesn't call for a public hearing. It's really, you have to look at what is in the bylaws. So I'll kind of go over that point by point, and I think that is where some of the disconnect is potentially between the appellant and the boards. The appeal is to be in writing, which you have a written appeal before you. This board did allow him to kind of elaborate on that appeal and answer some questions, but the appeal is the document that is in your agenda packet, that 2-page appeal document. So that is what you are looking at, and in it, the appellant is to state a statute, division rule, and what I mean by division rule is the Department of Public Safety, JCPC divisions guidelines. That is one of the reasons Mr. Downs included those guidelines in his response, because you have these guidelines from the state and then that flows down. And most of the JCPCs that I kind of researched their bylaws mirror those guidelines because the state has set those forth. So the appellant is appealing whether a statute, a division rule, a county commissioner policy, which to my knowledge this commission does not have any policies on the JCPC, or whether the policies or procedures set forth by the council itself have been violated. And that is what the appellant addressed. There are those 4 funding considerations, and what is before you is, was there any procedure violated in the consideration of those funding considerations? From the minutes before you, and from what Commissioner Meismer said, it does not appear that those 4 factors were not considered. I think the issue is what was the outcome of the consideration of those 4 factors. And that is what the appellant is looking for some questions on. And I think I would have to agree with Commissioner Warner's question. That's not really something that I can answer as staff. It's not really something County Manager Downs can do. I'm calling him Commissioner because everyone's saying he's the sixth commissioner. It's not something the county manager can state as well. It's probably not something this board outside of your representative can really speak to. So just to kind of summarize, what is in the bylaws is that there is a written appeal, and each level of appealing of kind of judicial body, if you will, is to look at that written appeal and consider, was a statute violated, was a written policy or procedure violated, based on the bylaws, based on the meeting minutes and those things. And I do understand that those meeting minutes, are before you tonight. Procedurally, what could happen is this could be deferred to a work session. You could decide on this tonight. You could find that more information is needed. That would be a finding. Mr. Cook and I talked about that, and potentially kind of, I don't move this back down. But there is that issue of the budget, and from my understanding is it's almost like when this board doesn't pass a budget, or when the state of North Carolina doesn't pass, the House and the Senate can't agree on a budget, there kind of is no budget. So it's just kind of in limbo until this board approves the funds as the pass-through entity. Happy to answer any other questions.
Questions for Evan? Okay, and I think those four things that you've referenced several times are effectiveness, staffing, amount requested, and expectation.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Those are the minimum policies that need to be considered in the immediately following sentence. There are other considerations such as fiscal stability, past performance, program accountability, and then it says et cetera. So it is discretionary. And again, I think that's where some of the frustration is coming from.
Right. Okay, commissioners, questions, additional questions for Evan? Okay, so I think he's kind of outlined the avenues that are available to us. We can delay it till a later time. We can take action tonight. We can actually, I think you said refer it back to the original.
You could find that more information is needed, or find that there was a kind of question in the policies or procedures, and send it back to the JCPC for reconsideration. That is an option.
Having served on that board for a number of years, I have always found them to be extremely conscientious in their, not only in their decisions as to what programs they fund and at what level they fund them, but also the amount of time that they dedicate to monitoring those organizations after the fact to make sure that they are actually doing the things that they propose to do, and that they are meeting the financial standards outlined by various policies and those sort of things. My point in saying that is I've always found that they take that responsibility very seriously. They are the ones that invest the time to learn about these programs, and even in the short amount of time that I have not been on the board, I certainly do not know those kind of details. Commissioner Meismer has sat in those meetings and heard those presentations on a regular basis that come back. So I have a great deal of confidence in the decisions made by that board, and I would, given any other, unless other information came before me, I would tend to support their decision. And do we need that in the form of a motion and a vote to report back to that board? This is a little bit out of the ordinary of our normal procedure.
We either need a vote to deny the appeal or a vote to table this discussion to a later date, or a vote to remand it, essentially. One of those three.
Okay.
I want to make a couple more comments, Mr. Chairman. With the JCPC board voting 19-4 against the appeal, and then the precedents that it would set for this board for other entities such as the JCPC, where we're a pass-through for the funding. You know, I will be glad, Mr. Chairman, to make a motion that we deny this appeal, because I don't want to step on the JCPC's feet, because they do a good job. I don't want to be redundant on that either. With all due respect to you, Mr. Bago, I want to make the motion that we deny this appeal and forward it, that decision on back to the JCPC board.
Okay, Commissioners, we have a motion on, is there a second?
But it wouldn't be forwarded back to the JCPC
Well,
board.
whoever
It would
needs to
just,
know.
if we deny the appeal, it will then go to the state, so.
If
Is that correct?
if the appellant appeals within 5 days of today's decision,
Right.
then it can go to the state. If YNEI does not appeal, then it would essentially go back to the JCPC, and then this board could approve the funding. So there's kind of two options. It either goes back, or if he appeals again, it goes to the state.
Right.
So
But
that is
it's
a good
not
point of
going to be going
clarification.
back to the JCPC to make a decision.
Correct,
Because they've already
correct.
made a
They'll get their
decision.
funding.
Right, right.
Correct.
One thing,
Nobody else will.
you made a motion. I'm sorry.
Okay, do we have a motion on the floor? Is there a second? The motion was that we deny the appeal as presented tonight. I would second that motion, and we now have additional discussion.
One thing I will mention as well, yeah, Mr. Chairman, you said you had spent years on that board as well, and as you're aware, there's a allocation and funding committee that goes through this process as well, and then goes to the full JCPC board. So, I mean, there's a couple layers there, that it's not just a quick decision by the JCPC board as far as allocations, and there is presentations and so.
Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, we do have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say no. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, next item of new business from the Sheriff's Office, a budget amendment, and we're happy to have Chief Deputy Burchett with us. And associates.
Yes, thank you, Commissioners.
I'm Captain Wallace.
Yes, this is our jail administrator, Captain Wallace. We're here tonight about a budget amendment request. What we're looking at doing is moving funds, revenues from inmate housing, basically revenues that we've collected from other counties that were overcrowded. We took in their inmates. We'd like to move those revenues into our equipment fund line to purchase what's called a Tech 84 body scanner. It's similar to what you may see at an airport, basically. And the purpose of this, it would be in our intake facility at the detention center. And it prevents people from being able to bring in contraband such as weapons or illegal substances, controlled substances that, of course, can harm both our inmates that we are tasked with keeping safe and protecting, as well as our employees that work the detention facility. So we're asking to move those funds generated from keeping inmates for other counties and moving that into to the budget line that allows us to purchase this body scanner.
Okay. Commissioners, questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, then I would entertain a motion to adopt the budget amendment to use inmate housing revenue to purchase the Tech 84 Intercept body scanner for the inmate intake process in the detention center. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. And we will move now to item 2.5, which is funding for Central Cabarrus Tennis Court lighting. Commissioner Workman, I'll turn the floor over to you.
We've talked about it several weeks, several meetings now, and with the option that we gave the guidance last meeting, the tennis courts are going to be taken care of. I asked about lighting because Central Cabarrus has none. So as of now, I was told by Tim Louder that Northwest Cabarrus and Cox Mill High School are both lit. That still leaves Central Cabarrus with no lighting. The problem with the lighting is that usually by the time they reach the end of the matches, they're out of daylight. After talking with several, I got an estimate, $375,000 to light the courts at Central. After talking to several parents, they believe it's actually more feasible just to light one set of courts. Because that way, by the time they get done with the single matches, it's usually just that one doubles match that's an issue. So if they just had one court lit, then they wouldn't have to travel back multiple days. I asked for a estimate, rough estimate to light one court, and I was given $175,000 to light one. To me, that's a win. We're able to make it happen, to allow them to do it, but also not deplete all the money that was in that commissioner's contingency fund. So I'll go ahead and make the motion. If there's discussion, we can have it after I make it. But I would like to make the motion that we use $175,000 from the commissioner's contingency fund to fund the lighting for one set of tennis courts at Central Cabarrus High School.
Okay, commissioners, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? And we have discussed this a bit before. So hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say no. That motion passes. Thank you. And we move now to the item 3, the adoption of the fiscal year 2024 budget. And I'll turn it over to County Manager Downs.
Okay, you guys, what's that? Did you have something? Oh, right. All right, follow me with numbers if you can. All right, the County Management Office presented a recommended budget on fiscal year 2024 to the Board of Commissioners on May 15th. Public hearing was held on Monday, June 5th at 5:30 p.m. Cabarrus County Budget Office consists of, the Cabarrus County Budget Ordinance consists of the General Fund, the Community Investment Fund, the Cabarrus Arena and Events Fund, the Landfill Fund, the 911 Emergency Telephone Fund, the Health and Dental Insurance Fund, Workmen's Compensation and Liability Fund, and the Fire District Tax Fund, the Social Services Fund, and finally the Intergovernmental Fund. Each of these areas we'll list out real quick. The General Fund was a total of $339,783,754. The school or education fund is, or that's the total fund. That included all of the schools and everybody else. So $339,783,754 funds. The other funds is the Community Investment Fund at $74,739,961. The Cabarrus Arena and Events Center Fund is $2,197,221. The Landfill Fund, $2,084,000 and $2,084,400. The 911 Telephone Fund, $416,638. The Social Services Fund, $400,000. The Intergovernmental Fund, $2,170,000. The Health and Dental Insurance Fund, $18,589,340. The Workmen's Compensation and Liability Fund, $4,030,577. And the Fire Tax District Fund, $7,099,003. For a grand total of all expenditures for $451,510,894. This equals a 74-cent tax rate for the ensuing year. Do you need me, would you like me to read out the tax rates for all of the tax rates that were requested have been approved at the requested amount? Would you prefer I read out every one, or are we good? Okay, good. Okay. All right, so with those numbers in place, we ask that you approve the budget as submitted.
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioners, we can make a motion in this regard and then have discussion, or we can go ahead and have discussion prior to, if you'd like. Hearing no one stepping up with a real quick motion, I will make a few comments. I wish I had made a clearer timeline, but in regards to the budget, I think that our first really in-depth discussion about the budget began in February, with our planning retreat, where we talked about a number of things and tried to give direction to staff. Since that time, we've had numerous discussions about various pieces of the budget. We have had two or three public workshops where we have had, and of course all of these have been open to the public, where we have had folks to come in and talk about the needs of the schools and the other organizations that we fund. So we've had a lot of time to talk about it, a lot of time to ask questions. Staff has, in a number of instances, come to us with various figures and proposals, and we've asked a lot of questions, and they've gone back and done additional work and then come back to us with alternatives. We've talked about the issues in the environment that we live in today as far as employment issues. And I think that all of us are aware and hear on a daily basis about companies in various communities that have difficulty retaining good employees. And so that has been a focus that we've talked about quite a bit, is trying to make sure that we take care of our people that do the good work that the county does. We've had we have had multiple opportunities for the public to speak and express their opinions about the budget. We had a session of Government 101 that was held, a day-long session specifically about the budget, and had good participation in that class. I say good participation, there was 25 or 30 people there, which is a very small number of for percentage of the 325,000 people that live in Cabarrus County. Or, excuse me, 235,000 people that live in Cabarrus County. I was growing this too fast. But that's better than we've had in a lot of other years. So I think I heard some comments earlier in one of our public speaking about the fact that some question about transparency. Our budget, our complete budget book has been out and available to the public for about a month now, I think.
It's pretty close.
But yeah, because it was presented at our regular meeting last month. Not only is that available in a printed version, but also that is completely available online. You can actually go to that online budget and click on various things to drill down deeper to get more details about it. So I feel like we've tried to be as transparent as we possibly can. And it is a complicated document with a lot of pages, and when you drill down, it's even more so. So I feel good about the process. I feel like we have solicited as much involvement as possible from our commissioner, our board, and our staff, and the public as well. And so I will vote for this budget. I think that staff has done an excellent job on it, and I think we've set good priorities. I will mention, a couple things that have been brought before us tonight, and I want to compliment Mr. Ortiz for his evaluation of the discussion that we had regarding our emergency assistance fund at our last work session, because he did a very accurate job of addressing the things that we talked about. And we've had the question, and folks have talked to us about evictions in the county. We made some inquiries and said, how can we help out? We had an emergency assistance fund, and what we found out was that emergency assistance fund hadn't been used very much. Now, there are a couple of different reasons for that. One of those is that we did have the ERAP funds during part of that time, but then as we drilled down a little bit more, trying to find out why they weren't used, well, it was harder to use. And so we did the things that he detailed earlier, which we increased we doubled the maximum amount of assistance that people could apply for. We found out that it was cumbersome for landlords because of the process that they had to go through in order to be certified as a vendor to receive those funds, so we eliminated that requirement. And then we also, and then I'm not sure if we have an online application up yet, but it is under development and will be up soon, so it makes it a little easier for folks to apply. And then I said the fund had been underutilized, and so we took the money that existed in that fund and rolled it over to the following year and added it to the funds that we were going to allocate for this year. So that, not quite, but almost doubled the amount that was available. And then the other thing that he pointed out, which was correct, that we said, we've made these changes, and so we're going to see how that impacts the fund, and then we'll reevaluate it at another time. So I appreciate him pointing that out. And my point in saying that is that we take this very seriously. When we talk about housing, and affordable housing has been mentioned several times tonight. That was a big focus of some of the funds that came to us, some of the federal funds that came to us during COVID. We allocated those dollars a large amount of those dollars to affordable housing efforts being made by the city of Concord. We also made some pretty significant contributions to Cooperative Christian Ministries and some of the ways that they're trying to address housing in our community. So it is not going unnoticed, and it is a big issue. I mean, it is not one you can snap your fingers and correct, but we're trying to do what we can. I'm pleased that our tax rate has remained flat for is this the fourth year? I'm proud of that. You know, we all know that we live in a time of inflation, and we hear that every time we turn the television or the radio on, talking about increases in prices. So fortunately, Cabarrus County has been able to recruit industry and build our tax base such that we can continue to provide these services without a tax increase. And so that's certainly what we all shoot for. So I am happy and proud to be voting for this budget tonight, and I will turn the floor over to anyone else that would like to speak.
So I just have a few comments. A year and a half ago is whenever I decided that I was going to run for a seat on the Cabarrus County Commission Board. I made that decision, I made that commitment, and the reason I did that is I was very concerned about the increasing property tax rate, and we had seen that for a number of years of increase. So that was the reason I really got concerned and decided to jump in. And as we're all here tonight, we know that we're voting on this proposed budget. Now, there are aspects of this budget that I do not like, but I think it would be hard pressed to find 5 county commissioners that would agree on every single line item in this budget. I mean, it's hundreds of pages of long. But with that being said, I am very proud and pleased that there is no new proposed countywide property tax rate increase. I think that is something that I have fought hard for during my campaign. In the last election cycle, I felt that I brought an awareness and a conversation to the community regarding county property taxes. And I feel like that paid off because I am now here as a representative of the taxpayer. And with the property tax increases that we had seen over the years, I had seen how it negatively affected citizens of our county, and most importantly, the taxpayers. And whenever we have higher tax rates, we're going to have higher rent cost. So there's a lot that goes into things like that. So as I said, I'm very pleased that this budget does not have a proposed countywide property tax rate increase. And so we've also, I will say that we have also done that and been able to address some of the needs with the school system, increase in teacher supplement pay, increase in county employees' pay, increased sheriff's deputies' pay, EMS, been able to implement some retention bonuses. And like I said, we've been able to address, some of the school needs with the Hickory Ridge track and field, the tennis courts at Central Cabarrus, Northwest, Cox Mill. We've been able to accomplish those things and be able to work within the means that we already have. Now, next year, we have the reevaluation, which means everyone's property values are going to be increasing. And I would like for each of us to make a commitment that we're going to vote for revenue tax rate next year. I think that would be very important, that as property values go up, tax bills go up, the rate needs to go down. So we don't have increased property tax bills, don't have increased rent. So anyway, so with all that being said, I do plan on voting for the budget tonight because I am very pleased with the fact that there is no new proposed countywide property tax.
Well, it's a hard act to follow, Chris, talking about the tax rate and all of that. Obviously, I was part of the board for the last 2 tax increases that we had. But if you look around and see, it's pretty easy to see that Cabarrus County is not the place it was 10 years ago. And, I mean, we're 235,000 people now. And this Board of Commissioners has been able to do things in the past several years that we hadn't been able to do in the years past because the growth in schools in particular, we were opening 2 and 3 schools a year. And schools that used to cost $20 million are now $45 million plus. High school, I thought was completely unreasonable when we paid $75 million for Cox Mill High School. But you know what we're planning on for a new high school now? $120 million. And then you're looking at the new courthouse across the street over there. When the courthouse that we were using prior to this one opened in 1975, and the cost was $1.2 million. The one that we just built was $130 million. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that things are very expensive these days. Taxes don't need to be expensive either. I agree with that. But, you have to pay what you have to pay. You go to a restaurant, you pay $5 for a hamburger. Wherever you go, you're going to pay the price, and we're having to pay the price. The good thing is that the things that we've been able to do for the last couple of years, we won't have to do again for 50, 60 years. None of us will probably be here then, but the fruits of our labor, they will enjoy. When I go into the schools, I see the children there. They don't know me, and I don't know them, but they're going to get the benefit of the courthouse. They're going to be going there for their civil issues. They're going to be going there for all the things that they have to take care of as a responsible adult. The emergency management system, we can't run out of a little 20 by 40 metal building no more. We've got a lot of people to take care of, and all of this stuff costs us money. But the one thing that I wanted to make sure, and Rodney, maybe you can help me on this, is these folks from down home have been very faithful to come to our meetings for the last 3 or 4 months, talking about funding for, to help prevent evictions and that type thing. And we've come up with a proposal that I think is good. It's not as good as I would like for it to be, but what I want you to do, if you will, can you give us a report back and maybe in 4 months? I was thinking 6 months, but I don't think 6 months. I think 6 months the money will be gone probably. But if we can look at it again in 4 months, and maybe we can appropriate some more money to that at some point. But like I say, I want to see that that the program is being used. It's going to the people that need the help the most. And I wonder a lot of times, we had a lot of speakers, and you know who you are if you spoke. You came and you spoke about maybe your own situation personally or somebody that you knew, I don't know. But one of the questions that always comes into my mind about this, and it was mostly ladies that spoke. There was a couple of men that spoke. But where are the dads? Where's the dads at? Where's the father to these children? Why are they incarcerated? Are they running around here not paying their child support? How are they dumping all of this on the mom and the kids? Now me, I would rather be homeless myself than my wife and my kids because they come first. But see, I know everybody's not like me. But there's a lot more to it than what we see. But we'll do what we can, and I hope this will help you some. Hope you don't get in that situation. If you do, hopefully there's going to be enough help there for you. And I'm very proud of the budget, proud of everyone that put hours and hours and hours of time into it. And I think that it's as good a budget as we've had. And so that's all I've got to say, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I'm in favor of this budget. Commissioner Meismer brought up a ton of the positives. You named them all off. I'm not gonna rename them, but I also think you hit a great point that there's parts in here that we're never gonna agree on. Not all of us, but it's moving towards the right direction, and we're trying to find something we can work together on. My biggest parts were we have to be able to take care of the employees. If we don't have employees, we can't run a county. And I think this board did a great job, not only upping the starting, but also for retention. I wanted to see some massive improvement and strides towards emergency services. And I know we had some people speak tonight, but I'll be the first to say that I'm law enforcement's biggest fan. Thank you guys very much for everything you do. I worked a 24/48 schedule at the fire department. My wife worked a 24/48 for EMS. You guys miss birthdays, you miss holidays, you don't know if you're coming home. It's a thankless job, and you don't get thanked enough. So anything we can do that makes your life easier, I'm all for it. So I'll be the first to sit up here and say thank you. I think we hit all the parts that we needed to. Obviously, it'd be nice to hit more if we could. So I'm looking forward to the people that have spoke. I'm looking forward to seeing how much of impact in 3 or 4 months that makes. That's something that we've pushed hard for, and I want to see us follow through on. Like Commissioner Shue said, I think we're going to find it's going to get utilized a lot more once it's streamlined. So I'll be interested to see those. But I also would like to thank you all for showing up and speaking for months. It takes dedication, and we hear you, and your voices don't go unnoticed. So thank you. And so as of now, I'm in favor of this budget, and I'd like to thank everybody up here for working together on it.
I have a lot to echo from my fellow commissioners, but I will reiterate that, yeah, there are parts of this budget we will never probably ever agree on. We did have some very poignant discussions and very robust discussions about several items in the budget, and I appreciate staff bringing our questions when we, emailed you or called you or had a question. You supplied it to all of us so we were on the same page. So I appreciate that. And, that was, yes, I'm not happy we couldn't reduce the tax rate, but I am committed to trying to do it next year when we do our reevaluations. As far as, I will vote for the budget. I think we've done a good job. I think we've done the best we could with what we have. I mean, we are growing by leaps and bounds, and we have to kind of play catch up on some of these projects, but we also have to try and stay ahead of the game. Finally, I will say I appreciate you all coming. I really appreciate you bringing the problems with the emergency rental system that we have in our county to our attention, and I urge you to continue to bring those problems, because without you guys, we wouldn't know that there's a problem with the system. And you, not you personally, but you may know someone that has stumbled across a problem, and without us knowing, we can't fix it. So please continue to bring us those types of problems. Keep us in the loop on how things are going once the online application comes back up. If you see anything else, if you hear anything else, I talked to a few members of this group last week. There was something with the phone system, how difficult it was to find it, find where to get to. It's all automated, so still working on that. But, let us know that, these things are working, they're helping, or if there's something else that you find in this, I think one of them, Jasmine, you mentioned, you tried the system out. You went and you applied in person, and you also tried, you're the one that brought the phone to me, called, and it took forever to find somebody, and then when you did, they sent you the different application. So those types of things, without us knowing, we can't fix it. So please continue to do that, and I appreciate you coming to all these meetings and bringing these to our attention, and I encourage you to continue to come. With that, commissioners, staff, I really appreciate all your help and your openness with all the questions that we have had, and not willingness, but dealing with us badgering you with all these questions. Again, I am committed to looking at net revenue neutral next year and dropping that tax rate, and I appreciate everybody. Thanks.
Thank you. Those were all good comments and very much appreciated. And I will reiterate again that I cannot think of higher compliments for our staff. All the way through this process, we come up with a lot of, well, what if? Well, what if we did this and what if we did that? And they go out and do the legwork and bring those answers back to us. And it enables us to make good decisions. One other thing that was mentioned that pertains to our budget in our comments tonight, and that was the development of our public safety training facility. I think that is a very important thing that has been included in our budget. We're in the early phases of that, and we're looking at ways that we can partner up with our municipalities and collaborate to come up with a facility that all of us together can create that would be far better than anything any of us could do individually. Public safety is a top priority, I think, for this board. I feel comfortable saying that on behalf of everybody. I think it's a high priority for our citizens as well. And so for us to provide the facilities needed for the training that they are required to have, we might not have kept up quite as well as we should have over the recent years. So hopefully we'll have an opportunity to improve that. There are a number of us that have worked hard for a number of years with the state of North Carolina to acquire the property that the state has deeded over to the county to build that facility for that public safety training facility and some other things as well. So I'm very proud of that. And with all that being said, at this time, I would make a motion to adopt the budget ordinance for fiscal year 2024 as has been presented.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say no. That motion passes unanimously. So at this time, we will now go to old business, which this is an area that we don't normally have a lot of things in, but some of these things we were wanting to address once we completed our budget discussion. So first up, fiscal year 2023 funding reappropriations, and we're happy to have Rosh Katari with us to talk about those items.
At the last workshop or work session, we presented the reappropriation item to you. Nothing has changed on it. Because of having to adopt the budget first, what the reappropriation item does is amends the budget, adding dollars that were not spent previously back into the budget. So it takes FY23 budgeted items, reappropriates it because they were not spent due to a number of reasons.
Great. Commissioners, questions for Raj? I think as we talked about in our work session, and the comment that I made was, I appreciate this process. A lot of us have heard years in the past of different organizations that this money's got to be spent before the budget year ends, and sometimes those maybe are not the best decisions. Our process allows those ongoing projects to continue, and there's not unnecessarily spending funds to meet a deadline. So I think it's a sound process. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion to amend the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget ordinance to allow the carryover of unspent funds as outlined on the attached reappropriation list from the 2022-2023 budget ordinance and authorize the county budget director to prepare the associated budget amendment.
So moved. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there additional discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. And we move to item 2, from Finance, Capital Improvement Plan, funded projects in the fiscal year 2024 general fund budget, and we're happy to have Jim Howden to talk about those items.
Good evening, Commissioners. This item was originally discussed at the June 5th workshop also. What we've done, the capital improvement plan projects have been updated based on the June 8th budget meeting, where we changed some of the school projects. We added a handful of projects, and we did take off the Central Cabarrus High School HVAC. So again, updated budget amendment, capital project ordinances, and budget resolutions for the board to approve.
Great. Commissioners, questions from Mr. Howden? I think we talked about all these at length at our budget workshop last week, or the week before.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yes. Okay, well, hearing no discussion, I would entertain a motion to adopt the project ordinances for the County Capital Project Fund and the School Capital Project Fund, related budget amendment, and applicable reimbursement resolutions.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Thank you. Okay, and then our next item 3 from Human Resources, Personnel Ordinance Update. We're happy to have Lundy Covington with us for that item.
Good evening, Commissioners. I, too, am here with a topic I was with you on 2 weeks ago. So just to briefly recap and provide a little additional information on that, this is regarding our longevity pay plan. So during that meeting, we had a few questions, and one of those was answered during the meeting, but I wanted to make sure I recap that for you so everyone has that information. We were asked, what if we were to stop payments or cut anyone out who makes over $150,000? The impact of that would be 7 individuals, 6 who would be eligible for the longevity pay plan, varying tiers within the plan, but the total cost savings would be $9,500 for that. I was also asked to look at an alternative schedule and consider adding 2 additional tiers for 30-year and 35-year employees. So looking at what that impact would be as well, that would impact 11 employees for Cabarrus County, a few other individuals with cooperative extension that'll be on the half pay plan. So 11 individuals. The incremental cost to add those 2 tiers would be $7,500. So I think those were the questions that you had at the last meeting and beyond. So if there are any other questions, I'm happy to try to answer those today. Again, you have both versions in front of you. So you have the one that caps at 25 years and the revised that would go up to a 35-year reward.
Okay, Commissioners, questions for Lundy? Okay, so we did not implement either of these. We discussed them, asked for additional information, you've brought it back, and so now it's time for us to decide if we want to implement this, and if we do, which one we would like to implement.
I'll make a motion that we do implement it and implement it on the revised scale that has the 2 additional 30 years and then 35 plus years. I'll make a motion that we adopt that. And my reason being is we shouldn't be penalizing people that have given their entire life to Cabarrus County. It doesn't impact that many people, and it's a small way just to say thank you.
Okay, Commissioners, we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, additional discussion.
I do have one question or one comment. And as was mentioned, we have sat through a number of budget meetings and workshops, and so I can't remember which one we discussed this, but I know we have discussed it at length. And there was discussion about if an employee does not stay until the October date. So say they have worked here for 30 years, and their 30th year anniversary is in February, then, or we'll say July, and then they have to stay until October to receive that. Is that correct?
That's how we're proposing it at this time due to our computer system. It would be a lump sum, meaning we would pay it one time a year for all employees. So any time of year that we select, there's a challenge with that because it will unfortunately impact somebody. Our goal would be in the future, once we look at some computer system changes, to come up with a system that would sync it up to the individual's anniversary date, because I think that is the true way to solve that.
Right.
But we are kind of viewing this as a retention bonus as well, and hopefully employees who understand if we put the timeline out there, they'll have the ability to make that choice and would be willing to stay for a few more months if that's what it takes to reach that payout point.
So would that be mentioned to them if someone is thinking about retirement? Well, hey, you might want to stay 3 more months.
We will have the date as part of the ordinance language so they know what that cutoff is, and when we publicize it to employees, we'll let them know. We don't have the exact date pinned down yet. We're trying to determine what that will be. But yes, we would certainly, as we're having conversations with them within HR, let them know that there's a date pending. As we would with COLA or any other benefit that an employee might appreciate should they choose to stay a little bit longer.
Okay. That's the only part of this I struggle with, is the timing, which like I said, I know we've discussed it at length, but just want to make that clear.
Okay, additional discussion or questions? I would say I agree with adding those 2 tiers onto it. I think it is absolutely appropriate that that we add those on, because we do want to retain those people. They are extremely valuable to us, and those that have, they all are, but those that have that many years of service, if we can hang on to them, then I think that is money well spent. Any other discussion? Okay, we do have a motion. The motion was to adopt a retention schedule that included the 30 to 35 years and over 35 years. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Thank you. All right, and that concludes all of our old business. We move now to updates from commission members who serve as liaisons to municipalities or on various other boards and/or committees. Does anyone have anything tonight?
Just briefly, this past week was a very busy week. I participated in the Elder Abuse Awareness Walk at the Cabarrus Senior Center, Cabarrus Active Living. But then we also held our very first World Elder Abuse Awareness event over in the public plaza, and looking forward to doing that again next year to raise awareness to adults that are abused. And when you think of abuse, it's not, physical. Most of it is financial. I read a statistic that said $36.5 billion is lost to our elderly population from their family members, nursing homes, whomever it might be, exploiting funds for them. So just wanted to bring that to your attention, that we do that here in the county. I anticipate, and I'm hoping, actually I talked to Anthony earlier, that we were planning to do that next year as well, and really raise awareness to elder abuse.
Thank you. Okay, any other reports? If not, general comments by board members, if anybody has anything they'd like to discuss. Okay, hearing no one, we do not have need of a closed session tonight, so at this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, no. We now stand adjourned. We thank you all for being with us, and we appreciate folks that are watching online and on television.